Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do beer stuff. We do it here, and we do a couple different things. Hazies, stouts, pilsners, lagers, podcasts. Those happen. Old beer. It's one of our favorite things to do, and we have another brewery beer here. Yeah, a little bit of mash. A little mash from the brewery. I haven't had this in several years, and honestly, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. 2015? 2015? Say what? I picked this up off a shelf at that place that I randomly get these beers from, and yeah, kind of pumped to dive into it. You know, aged brewery beers, especially these big barrel aged behemoths, tend to age quite well. 2015, you're talking about, give or take about 8 years on this sucker so far, so we're not quite sure exactly how it's going to age out and land, but we're going to find out. So, what's going on with this beer? So, it says the Bruery Family Room Mash. It is a Barelywine style ale aged in bourbon barrels. It comes in at a paltry 12.5%. That's a very low ABV for some of these brewery old school beers. An English style classic with rich flavors from time spent aging in bourbon barrels. Story time at the back. It says mash is delectably rich in malty ale, best enjoyed fresh, but may evolve pleasantly over time if cellared properly. Please store in a cool, dark place. Ideal serving temperature of 50 degrees, probably right around there. Pour carefully, leaving the yeast sediment behind in the bottle. Best served in a tulip or wine glass. This is neither, but we're going to do it anyway. Yeah, old school brewery labeling. Let's see how this sucker shows and proves. Like I said, there's this bottle shop by me. The owner is really big into beer. I assume he just takes stuff from his cellar and throws it in there randomly. That's my guess is what's going on. And I don't know if this was there last time when I picked up those Mogul Wednesdays and Black Tuesdays, but I saw this there. It was a little bit more expensive than those other ones. So I was getting the Black Tuesdays and Mocha Wednesdays for like sub 20. This is 23. I'm not gonna say that's expensive. This probably retailed more for that. I'm assuming maybe when it originally came out. So we'll see what's what. Label wise, like I said, classic brewery labeling. There is this crazy merc ring on this thing. You're probably not going to be able to see that on there, but you can tell that this is aged. And as far as the beer actually looks, it just has that kind of like, I want to go straight doo doo water brown on it, but it's very much like, 4C iced tea. When you make that powdered iced tea, maybe I'm dating myself. Who drinks powdered iced tea nowadays? But you add a little bit too much of the powder to the mix. That's kind of how it looks. So it looks the part of a nice old aged English barley wine. Let's get a nose. That's the goods though, man. Plummy, figgy. Very plummy here. We're almost getting to the point of being, what's the plums? God. Why am I spacing on it? What's the prunes? Very much. I don't know why I couldn't think of prunes. Very much like prune plummy, juicy, with this nice kind of caramel flavor to it. A soft little bourbon, no heat whatsoever on the nose. And just this kind of just everything like mashing. I didn't mean that, but it just kind of came out. Melding and mashing together to where it's like the precursor of that sugar daddy thing that I talk about so much when it comes to these kind of aged old English kind of barley wines. So rich toffees, your toffee caramel treacle, all those kind of things floating around in there. But it has that added fruit component, that date figgy thing that goes a bit further into the kind of pruny territory. It has, like I said, that sweetness that wants to get to that sugar daddy level, but enough rich fruitiness to where it's kind of like just pushing that off a little bit. Fruitcake. Can we just say fruitcake? Get it over with. We're just going to dive in. Cheers, y'all. Okay. Yeah. And it is very much that pruny characteristic. that really comes through. It's not sour. It's not overtly negative, but there is a little bit of a caustic sharpness to it. And I want to kind of nail that down if I can. Yeah, it's weird. There's a sharpness to this that I don't know what it is. It's almost like a metallic astringency without that, like, you ever like lick a penny kind of thing where you have that metallic taste in your mouth where you actually like lick like a nickel or a penny? But this has that at a much like less a lesser scale. So it's not an overtly negative beer. Listen, it actually has a decent carb on it. It's not going to be infused with something with a huge amount of carbonation, but it has a nice kind of softness to it. The barley wines portion of the show here, the way the beer is going to be, how it's made, is going to lend itself to being a bit soft. So it kind of helps it in that direction, but there's enough carbonation for it to still be kind of really fun. That caramel, sweeter sugar daddy thing in combination with that date, more specifically pruniness. I'm going to keep leaning into that pruniness kind of flavor because that's like the biggest portion of the show here. Ends up being a kind of fun kind of back and forth because it is a sweetness with a tartness. Again, very much, I iterate, it's not sour, it's not negative. But there is this kind of that metallic thing. I'm starting to think it's actually maybe an aggressive hop. You know, you're talking about 8 years here, but it says English barley wine, but it's almost like it's an American barley wine where the hopping portion of the show, the bittering portion of the show, has stuck around a little bit too aggressively. And then maybe there's a decent amount of oxidation here. That's definitely what's going on. But it's not overtly negative. It keeps the beer from being, man, this thing's giving me hiccups and burps. But it's an unnegative beer. It's not like I'm like, okay, I don't want to drink this. But it's lacking that kind of fastball, that really kind of tentpole, hammer home deliciousness that I typically get from these aged kind of bourbon barrel aged beers. Big ABV barley wine stout kind of beers I get from the Bruery. And this one just kind of has a little bit of, just a little bit offness to it, to where it kind of stops short of being something stellar. But I'm pumped I bought it. You know what I mean? This is the journey with a lot of these older beers, and I know a lot of people that were like OG beer people back in the day. The Bruery was one of those breweries that people kind of coveted when it came to these big barrel aged beers. They had one of the more bigger kind of personal societies, whether it be the Hoarder Society or anything like that, to where people really kind of bought these beers and shelved them and kept them down in their basement, and they might actually be cracking them now. The brewery's lost a little bit of its luster. It's at least from the hoarding kind of beer buyer kind of like cellar community, to the point where you can get their beers regularly. Not that they're any less good. It's just they're not rare, so a lot of people treat them that way. They still have a great kind of reserve society going on where they do a bunch of these beers and always, or more often than not, typically kill it. But a lot of people have these sitting in their basements, and if you go back and watch the previous reviews I did on Black Tuesday and Mocha Wednesday, there can be a little bit of variance in those bottles because I ended up reviewing them myself. If you go and watch the stuff from Beer Tuber Palooza, more specifically the 2022 version, and some of the beers that I kind of opened for those guys, some were better than others depending on, the bottle. And that's kind of part and parcel when it comes to kind of cellaring beer. This one's no different. I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to go back and maybe grab another one of these and open it, see if it's the same. See if it impacts the same way or it's better or worse or somewhere in between. But Like I said, it's part and parcel of aging. Nothing's guaranteed, especially with more moving parts. You know, if you have a bottle conditioned beer, say an old school Belgian brown, something along those lines, higher ABV, quad, something along those lines. There's a lot less that can go wrong with that when you start introducing, you know, barrel into the equation, wood into the equation, things like that. So while it's a fun beer, it's a tasty beer, great experience. Probably could have been much better in different circumstances, different bottles, or even a couple of years ago. But still a fun journey, and glad I picked it up. I might grab another one. So anyway, Bruery. Let's talk about it. Have you been to the Bruery? Have you had a bunch of their beers? Have you had this beer? Have you had this specific vintage ever or more recently? Let me know down there. Be pretty good. As far as barrel aged beers go, Barelywine, stuff like that, it's Mount Rushmore. No, tasty nonetheless. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. There you go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Bruery right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.